Hi, welcome to the CCA Word assignment by Megan Rees. Today we're going to be learning how to create a really cool document in Microsoft Word. So what you're going to do, there are written directions that look like this, but you can obviously use this video. But you're also going to open up the file, which if you go to 404 on your desktop, you're going to then go to College and Career Awareness, and then to Business Administration, and then open up the one that says Word Starter Assignment. Okay, the directions are right above it right there if you want the written directions. And that's going to pull up a page that looks like this. So we are going to take this page and we're going to make it look like this page. Okay, pretty big difference. Okay, we're going to be making a lot of changes to this. So let's go ahead and get started on that. All right, the first thing you're going to do is do Control A, hold down the Control key and press A. And while you have the entire document selected, you're going to do four things. First, you're going to go along the top. You'll notice you have ribbons along the top. These are called ribbons or tabs. I'm going to go to the Layout ribbon, and I'm going to change the orientation to Landscape, which means it's going the other direction. Instead of going the tall way, now it's wide. I'm also going to change my margins to Narrow, which makes the white area around the edge less wide. The next thing I'm going to do is go over to my Home ribbon, and I'm going to choose a font size. Now it's set to 11 right now. We're going to change it to 10, which may seem like a minor change, but it does take up significantly less space. And later on, trying to get this to fit on one page is going to be a bit of a challenge. So you want to make sure you change that font size right now. And then the last thing we're going to do is change what's called the justification or the alignment. So if you look up here, there's four buttons. Right now it's aligned to the left. That's aligning to the right. That's aligning center. So you've probably seen these before. We're actually going to do this one right here that is aligning. It's justify. What it does is watch this edge right here. Okay, when I click that, it evens it out on both sides. Now it's not very obvious now, but later, don't do this, but later when we put this in 3 columns, it will be very clear. That looks so much better to do that than to have it look like that. Okay, we're not putting it in columns yet, so don't put it in columns, but you do want to change your justification to the 2 edges. Those 4 things are really foundational, so if you've missed those steps, it's very hard to fix it later on, so make sure you got all 4. The next thing we're going to do is add a footer to the page, so you're going to go to Insert, and then you're going to go to Footer, and choose Blank 3 columns, which will push it down here to the bottom. In the first one, just type right over the top, put your period in, and then the last one you don't really need. You can just click on it and backspace it or delete it. But we do want this actually to be lower than it is, just again to give us as much space as possible. So you're going to go up here where it says Move Footer from the bottom and change that to 0.3. Any lower, if you go to 0.2, it's going to be too low and you won't see it when you print it. So 0.3 is about as low as we can go. And then click Close. Okay. All right, the next thing you're going to do is spell check. You'll notice there are some spelling errors in here. Okay, there's 2 ways to spell check. You can just right click on a word that's underlined, and it will give you, ideas of how you can change that. Or you can go to the Review tab, go to Spellings and Grammar, and it will just walk you through the whole thing. So it gives me several options. Okay, it's supposed to be graduate. Okay, this one's a name, Hallweger Technical College. It's a name, so I don't actually want to change that. So I'm going to ignore that. Ignore once. Okay, success needs to be spelled right. Provides, if I read it over the grammar, it actually is just fine. That grammar is fine, so I'm going to ignore that. Okay, and then the directions in here. Okay, so I've gone ahead and spell checked that. Let's go ahead and save it. You're going to go to File, Save As, and then I've got a lot on here because I have a lot of stuff going on. You probably won't have very much here. You want to look for the word Documents. And again, my computer is going to look different because I open a million things a day, but you should see a thing that says Documents. Okay, or you can go to Browse and click on Documents on the side over here, and then just go ahead and save it. And that's going to save it into your individual folder from the server. Don't save it where you got it. You need to save it in your documents. All right, the next thing we're going to do is where we're going to go over to Find and Replace. So in the Home ribbon, we're going to go all the way to the left here, or the right, and we're going to click on Replace, and we're going to look for the word Jen. Okay, the name Jen. Say we found out we were about to go to copy and someone's like, oh, her name's not Jen Jones, you got that wrong. And then type in a new name. You can do whatever name you want, just choose a name, make sure you capitalize it, and then you do Replace All. And it's going to say, all done, we made 5 replacements. Yay, okay. And now it says Greta Jones instead of Jen Jones, okay. So that is changing the Find and Replace. The next thing is we're going to move some text. This text box right here, this little box here that says career clusters, we actually want that up higher. So we can move it several ways. We could cut and paste it, but the easiest way is to just drag it. So we're going to highlight them all, I'm going to drag it all the way up, put your cursor in front of the word why take CTE classes, and let go. Okay, now it's the second one. That's perfectly fine. The next thing we want to do is work with an emphasis. So emphasis, there's bold, italicize, and underline, and these are some minor ones that you don't use very often. So you've probably seen these before, but bold, italicize, and underline, we're going to use, not going to use underline, but we're going to use the other two. So you're going to start by highlighting this direction right here. This is a quote, the vocational education. Just highlight this quote and go ahead and click the I, or you can do Control I, or it might pop up right here. You can do it in a little cheat sheet that pops up. Okay. Then you're going to go over here to where it says demand. You're going to double click on it to highlight the whole thing and bold that. And you're going to do it with all four of them. So demand, grades, directions. Make sure you're just doing the first word, not the whole line, and get those all bolded. Okay, so that's an emphasis. The next one is bullets. So you're going to come down here, same spot you just were, this demand section. Just highlight the whole section without the title. And you're just going to push this button right here that says bullets. Okay, now you can pull this arrow down. I have some fun ones because I've been cheating, but you can use one of these if you want. You won't have any of these, but if you want to do a different one, you're welcome to. You just pull down the arrow. You can pick a different one. Okay. All right, the next thing is design colors. This is a little bit advanced, something you've probably never done before, but it's kind of cool. You're going to click on design. First of all, if you look over here, you don't have to do this, but just watch for a second. There's a paint bucket here. If I pull this down, I get these colors, and they're kind of ugly. I don't know. They're like the same colors every time. That's the default color scheme that comes with Microsoft Word, okay? I'm going to change this color scheme. So I'm going to go to design, and I'm going to go to colors, and they have a whole bunch of color schemes in here that I can choose from. So if I pick, say, this one, now when I pull down this little button right here, I have a completely different color scheme. And I like to choose this because then no matter what I do, all my colors are going to go together and it's going to fit and it's going to look right instead of like wild, crazy, weird colors that don't look good together. So you're going to change your color scheme to whichever one you want it to be, and I'll just keep mine where that's at. All right, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to use that color scheme by creating a border. So you're going to go to, again, the Design tab. You're going to go to Page Borders, and you're going to choose one of the style borders. Now there are art borders in here. I don't want you to use them because they're tacky and ugly and haven't been updated since the 90s, so please leave those alone. I want you to do a style border. So when you pick one, you can go ahead and choose a color from your color scheme, probably something kind of on the darker side. So don't choose anything any wider than 1 point. If you make it any bigger than that, it's going to be hard at the end to make everything fit. So just make sure it's 1 point or less and then click OK. And then that will be, oops, make sure you're on page border, by the way. Don't be on regular borders. This is paragraph borders. And make sure you have box, okay? You shouldn't have to set that, but sometimes you'll go to click on it and it didn't work, and that would be why. This one I can't use because it's only at a 3 point, so I'll need to pick a different one, okay? And then pick my color, I click OK, and now I have a border. All right, the next thing we're going to do is a horizontal line, and I want to make sure you understand the difference between a border and a horizontal line. Borders can't be picked up and moved. They're not images. They're kind of like text. They just are. Whereas a border, a horizontal line is like an image that can be moved and changed. So we're going to go to insert, or sorry, we're going to go to home. You're going to put your cursor in this box right here. And right here, there's a picture of a little window. Now, if you were to click it, it would look like I just added a horizontal line, but I didn't. I know it's not a horizontal line, although it's a line going horizontally, but it's not an official horizontal line because I can't click on it, I can't move it, and my cursor is above it, okay? That isn't what I want, okay? That's better for things like this, like that's better for borders that go around like a box, right? No, we're gonna do, let me go back, Control Z, by the way, if you make a mistake, Control Z. I'm gonna pull this arrow down, and instead of choosing the border, I'm gonna go to horizontal line, which puts in a line. Now notice I can click on it, and it doesn't have my cursor floating above it. And then I can double click on it and I can change the color, okay? It treats it like a graphic. I click OK, and this is something that if I wanted to, I could move it, right? All right, so once I have that one, I'm gonna go down to the end of success story and I'm gonna insert another one. So now I have 2, okay? All right, next is text effects, okay? This is a really cool way to make your text look awesome. We're gonna start by highlighting what is CTE. You're going to center that. Remember the emphasis over here. We did justify earlier. This time you're going to do center, so that puts it in the middle of the page. Don't be the kid that when someone asks you to center, that you do that, okay? You don't want to use the space bar because when you enter a space bar, those are codes that are going to stay there. And if you move things around, those space bars are still going to be there. And that way, and it'll assume you need 45 spaces when maybe you put a picture right here and I no longer need 45 spaces, then it gets all messed up. But if you center it, no matter what you do, it'll always be centered, right? So go ahead and center that, and then change the font to size 14, okay? From there, we're going to do text effects, which is this in here. Now, you can do whatever you want on your text effects except the reflection, okay? Again, space. Reflection makes it go a little bit further down. Like anything that makes it bigger than it was, you don't want to use, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and click on whichever one that I want. And then I can even change it. I can change the color here. If I want to pick a different color, I can pull this down and add like a shadow to it or a glow to it. I can add maybe an outline of a different color that I want, whatever it might be. So you can kind of mess with that and get it to look the way that you want. Okay, once you've done that, the problem is we have 4 of them. If you look down, we've got what is CTE, career clusters, why take CTE classes, and success stories. And I want these other 3 to look like this one, but I might not remember exactly what I did. I changed colors, I added glows, I did all kinds of weird stuff, and to repeat that might be difficult. So I'm going to highlight what is CTE, because that's what I want to look like. I'm basically going to copy and paste, but instead of copying and pasting the words, what is CTE, I'm going to copy and paste the formatting, okay? So I'm going to highlight what is CTE, and then over here in the home ribbon, there's a button that says Format Painter. I'm going to click on that. Now you'll notice it stays pushed in. When I bring my cursor over here, it looks like a little paintbrush, okay? And then I just click on Career Clusters and click. Then I dip my brush again, because it's still highlighting it, and then I do the next one. Then I dip my brush again, and I do the next one. Now, sometimes kids go to do that, and they're, oh, no, I messed up. Okay, if you mess up, you make a mistake, Control-Z, then re-highlight what you want it to look like, and dip your brush again. Okay? All right, so that is Format Painter, a very useful tool. I use that one probably every day in some way or another. All right, the next one's word art. We need to make room for a title. We don't really have a title. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I ignore that. That's really annoying. Ignore once. There we go. Put my cursor on top of what is CTE, and I'm going to press enter 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Gives me some space at the top. Okay. Then I'm going to go to insert word art. Now it looks exactly the same as this, right? It looks the same, but it's not. It looks the same, does not behave the same. Okay. So when I click on it, it's going to pull it in and it's going to put it in a text box, which allows me to move it. I can't do that with this one. Like I can't pick it up. It's just regular text. And this is regular text too, it's just that I can move it. Now, in order to move it, you want to put your cursor on the edge, so it's a 4-sided arrow, and then move it around like this. Do not do this. Some kids will highlight the middle and then drag. Well, you just dragged it out of the text box. Now it's no different than this. The text box, this little box around it, is what makes it word art and not just regular emphasis. So right here where it says your text here, I'm going to type in CTE News in all caps. I'm going to change the font to whatever font I would like, as long as it's readable and not super obnoxious. Don't pick one that's really long because you're actually going to put this in 3 columns, so it's actually going to go up here in this corner. And remember, in our picture, okay, let me show you what it's going to look like so you know, okay, right here, this is what it's going to look like. So you don't want it to be so big that you don't have room to do all the other things, so you're just going to stick it up in the corner like that. Okay, now you can change things. Once you click on it, you can go to drawing tools and you can change the text over here. Don't do shape fill, but you can change the text color. You can change the outline, pretty much all the things that you were able to do on the other one. Bevel. What I don't want you to do, I get kids that get excited about this transform thing, which I know it's lots of fun. And I guess you could do it, but only if it doesn't change the size. Like don't do something like it shouldn't be any bigger than it was before. So like that would be fine. It's really not that different than, that, right? But if you've got one that really changes it, makes it hard to read or makes it take up more space than it did before, then don't pick it. Okay. All right. Next thing we're going to do is insert a shape. So you're going to go to insert shape and do this rectangle shape. It's also right here. Okay. Click and drag and just make it a bit longer than your CTE News. We'll be adjusting it later once we have our graph ready. Okay. So there's my CTE News. I'm going to go to Drawing Tools, and I'm going to get rid of the outline under Shape Outline, and that's pretty much it. Next, we're going to do a text box, but we're going to start by getting the information that's going to go in the text box. So you're going to highlight this vocational education section. Make sure you don't take the extra line right here. Just highlight it like this, and you're going to cut it. So you're going to go to Home and you're going to choose Cut, or you can do Control X. Now what that does is it sticks it on a little clipboard. I've got tons of stuff on mine because I've been working a lot, but this is it's just stuff that I've cut that's waiting for me to paste it somewhere. Okay. So then I'm going to go to Insert, Text Box, and choose Simple Text Box. There's my box. And with it still highlighted, I'm just going to do Control V, or you can go to Home and do Paste. And it's going to paste it right inside. Now it does an extra line that we don't need, so press the backspace key to get rid of that. And now we have this little text box, which is just like this, only it has text in it instead of, fancy words. But I can put my cursor on the edge, and we're just going to drag it up and stick it in the corner right now. Notice that what is CTE moved? That's because it's now centered according to this edge to this edge. Okay, that's why you put a center in instead of spaces. If I did spaces, it'd be all over the place, right? So it's always going to center it no matter how much little space I give it, right? But anyway, go ahead and stick that in the corner for now. One other thing, and then we're going to move this thing into columns. So you're going to come down here, and this one's really important to get this right before we put this into columns. You're going to put your cursor on the line right here. It turns into a double-sided arrow, and you're going to click and drag it closer like that. And then you're going to do this one as well. Do the edge and drag it in. Now you want the word concentrating to be on the second line. And the reason I'm telling you that is this is going to be a column. And I know that that's the width it needs to be. So make this as small as it can go without moving. Like keep going until, it's as small as you can get it before the word concentrating is on the wrong level. Okay. All right. With that done, we're now ready to put this into columns. So you're going to do Control A to highlight everything. You're going to go to Layout, Columns, More Columns, 3, and then change the spacing to 0.2. Okay, that's the spacing that's between each column. I'm going to click OK. There we go. Now, looking pretty good. Obviously, I need a lot of space. Things are in weird places. We're going to fix that, and we're going to certainly fill it up. But it's starting to resemble our final product here, isn't it? You can kind of see what we're working on. Okay. All right. Good heavens. Okay. All right, the next thing is we're going to move the text box. So we're going to click on this little text box, grab the corner with the four-sided arrow, and you're going to stick it right here. And we're going to resize it so that it lines up. Now you can kind of see the line here where this edge is. You want this to line up with that. And this one as well. I made mine a little long. You might have made yours a little short, but you want to make it all in a straight line going this way. Okay, but CTE News is moved over to the left. We're going to be putting a picture right here eventually. Okay, so then we've go ahead and move that. And you can also click on that, go to Drawing Tools, and then go to Shape Tools, and you can change the color. Now, the Drawing Tools doesn't show up. You don't see it here unless you are clicked on something that needs it. And then it's there, okay? And you can come in here and do a color for the background. Okay, next thing is inserting pictures. We're going to insert so many pictures, 5 pictures to be exact in this document, okay? So first we're going to go to Insert Picture, and you got to go find them. I'm already there because I've taught this already today, but you're going to go to, on your desktop, you're going to click on Desktop. So once again, you're going to go to Insert Pictures. On the left, click on Desktop, go to Room 404, College and Career Awareness, Business Administration, and you want the one called Career People. Go ahead and insert that. There it is. Now, I don't really like the way it looks. I don't need this Insurance Careers Month. I just lifted this off the internet, and I don't want the insurance careers. I just want the people. So on Picture Tools, with my picture highlighted, I'm going to come over here to Crop, and I'm just going to grab the edge and drag it up like that. Okay, and then just click off to be done. So that looks great, but you'll notice when I try to move it, it's kind of hard to move, okay? The reason for that is that Word treats pictures as if they're just part of the sentence, okay? Like notice it's in the middle of the word differences right now. Word just acts like pictures are words. It doesn't know it's a picture unless you tell it to wrap around it like a picture. Okay, so you're going to click on it. You're going to click on either this button. You can right click and go to wrap text here. You can go to Picture Tools, wrap text. There's 3 different places. You're going to change it to tight. What that does is it makes it much easier to move. Now, no matter where I put it, everything will accommodate it. And I want it right here at the bottom, okay? Now, you probably have Why Take CTE classes still showing up at the bottom. It all depends on how big your CTE News was and how much room you have. So we want that to be moved over to the top of the next page. So you're going to go to Layout, Breaks, Column Break. And what that does is it just says, start a new column here. It doesn't just press an enter. If I do an enter, it might move still if I change something. But if I put a break there, then no matter what, it's going to keep this at the top. It's going to at the beginning of the next column. All right, we're going to insert another picture, and this time we're going to do the one that's called Clusters 2. And honestly, you shouldn't have to do anything beyond that. Every now and then I'll see kids where for some reason theirs is down farther. They have like a big space up here. If it doesn't come in right for some reason, then it doesn't look just like this, then change your wrap to tight again. It's this one. And just drag it up where it's supposed to be. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to mess with our little box over here. So we're going to actually move this. We want it to be in front of success story. So you'll notice there's a little button right here. You're going to put your cursor on it. It's a 4-sided arrow. Just drag it right on top of success story, just like that. So it's on top, okay? Then you'll see success story still fitting. That's okay. Highlight it and just make the font right here bigger until success story gets pushed over to the other page, okay? And that's all we're going to do on that, okay? Now we've got success story over here. And if by chance you're still having issues, remember you can still do a break there. You could go to layout, breaks, and column break to put that at the top of this page if you need to. I have an extra space, so I'm going to get rid of that. All right, now I'm going to put my cursor in front of the word meet. I'm going to go to insert picture, and this time I'm going to get a student pic. Pulls in a picture of somebody, and you'll notice it gives me all this extra space. That's again because of wrap. I'll watch kids and they'll sit there and resize it and move it and try to fix it. That's not going to do it. You got to use the wrap, okay? You got to say, nope, I want it to be tight. Okay, so we're going to do tight, and now it wraps around like that, okay? Now that's all you have to do, but if you want to go to picture tools and add like a border to it, just not like that, don't do that. If you want to add like a picture border, you're welcome to do that, but I'm not going to require it, but you're welcome to play with some of these effects if you'd like. Now we're ready for picture number 4. So we're going to go to insert pictures, and this time we're going to do the one called grad hat. Doesn't really matter where your cursor is, we're going to be moving it in a second, but you're going to pull this picture in and immediately change the wrap to in front of text, okay, which is this one, which allows us to put it wherever we want, which is nice, but you'll also notice there's an ugly white background that we want to get rid of, okay? So we're going to go to picture tools, we're going to go to remove background, and you'll see that some areas are pink and some aren't. If I were to just keep it like that, I would lose everything that's pink, right? So we want to make sure it's getting all the stuff we need. So we're going to do mark areas to keep, and you just kind of like click. You don't have to like draw perfectly or whatever. You just kind of click in the area where you want it. If it does something weird, you can always do mark areas to remove, and you can kind of pick that too. I'm not very picky, but anyway. Then you do keep changes. There it is. Resize it and stick it in the corner right there. Okay. If you want, I kind of like the tassel on the other side, so I'm going to grab the corner and drag it across itself like that. I just think it fits better if the tassel's on the other side. Okay, believe it or not, we're almost done. I know it's been a lot. It's a big program. So the next thing we're going to do is put our cursor in this empty spot right here, because obviously we have a big box we need to fill. Our last picture, insert, oops, don't do that. Insert pictures and go to the one that says jobs chart and pull that in. Hopefully it'll fit just perfect and you don't have to do anything, but there's always a chance that it will go big like that. Okay, it just might be slightly too big. It's all the question of how big you did your fonts or if you did anything weird. So if it's on a second page, just grab the corner, make it a little bit smaller until it comes in. Now, you may get this error where you have a second page. See how I have a second page down here? I don't want that page. So if that happens to you, you want to kind of click in this corner. See how I got my cursor beeping right there at the corner? And then press delete, not backspace, delete until that extra page goes away. Okay, because there's extra enter codes in front of it, and you're just deleting those enter codes. Okay, now we only have 2 more things. We're almost done. Next thing we're going to do is go to design, and we're going to go to page color, fill effects. And you're going to do 2 colors. Pick the 2 colors that you want. Now, I'm absolutely 100% you must pick something in this top level. Okay, I don't want you picking dark colors for 2 reasons. 1, if you ever did print this, it wastes a lot of ink. And number 2, it's obnoxious. If it's really dark, you can't read it. You can't see it, and then it becomes about the background instead of the content. So pick really light colors. Okay, pick 2 different colors that are really light. Okay, and then those are too similar, I think. Oh, they're all similar, but whatever. Okay. And then you can choose which direction you want it to go or whatever. Click OK, and now you have this kind of cool border. It's going to come out much more obnoxious when you print than it is right now. You might be like, oh, I can't really tell the difference. Trust me, when you print it, you'll be able to tell the difference. All right, last thing is going to insert shape, and you're going to do a circle shape, and you're going to draw a big circle. You might be like, what in the world? Why would I do that? You'll see in a second. Choose a color that kind of contrasts. I've seen some kids do white, which actually turns out looking really cool. But try to pick something a little different. I'm actually going to do white just because my colors are so similar. It's hard to find any kind of contrast. Then you're going to go to outline and do no outline. Then you'll go to shape effects, soft edges, and do the softest edge you've got, that one. Okay. Now kind of place it where you want. It can go anywhere. You can resize it. Once you see what I'm doing, you might be like, oh, wait, I want to see that. So you just kind of put it where you want. And then you're going to go to wrap text and you're going to put it behind text. Okay. Once it's behind text, it's really hard to move. Okay. So if you're like, oh, now I see what you're doing, I want it in a different space, then maybe change it back to square or Control Z, put it where you want, and then try it again. Okay. I actually liked it just fine where it was, so I'm going to leave it there. All right, one final note. If you were to print this, which in this class, I pretty much you're going to turn it into Canvas unless I say otherwise, but if you were to print it, you'd find that when I go to print, you'll find that my background isn't showing up. Now, my circle will show up. You can't see mine because I made mine white, but your circle will show up, your background won't. The reason for that is Word kind of has a built-in thing to like prevent you from printing lots of pages that have dark ink, so you don't waste the ink. So if you were to print this, you'd have to go to File, Options, Display, and check this box, Print Background Colors and Images. And now when I go to print, it's going to show up and I can print it and it'll look gorgeous. Okay. So if you are printing, you have to print to the color printer and click print. In my class, generally, I have you turn it in on Canvas and you only print it if you really love it and want to take it home and show your family and you care about it and you want a copy. Otherwise, don't print it, turn it in on Canvas. All right. So that was a slog. That was a lot, but I hope you learned something new about Microsoft Word. It's a really fun program that can do a lot of really cool things that you can't always do in Google Docs that make it worth the price. So anyway, that's some basics in Microsoft, and hopefully you got through it just fine. Have a good day.